Welcome to Live Interactive English. Hello, everyone. I'm Karen.
Hello, everybody. I am Shane, and we are looking at day 2 of Views of Jade Mountain.
That's right. So I know that you enjoy hiking quite a lot, and you have gone on many different hiking trails, but let me just ask you,
what?
Have you encountered any danger along the way when you were hiking?
Because I know that's probably part of the reason you don't like hiking in mountains. You might be scared of like snakes or some wildlife or mosquitoes. Well, one time I did get stung or bitten by something. I don't know what was happening. I was going down a trail and the trail was not very well maintained. It was kind of like an off trail. Like, so I was kind of going off by myself to be more adventurous.
Okay.
And suddenly on the back of my neck, I got stung or bitten by something and it felt like an electric shock. It just went through my whole body. And I kind of felt, so I remember I hit my ear and hit the back of my head, and I was wearing Bluetooth headphone, and the Bluetooth headphone flew into the woods.
So you lost it.
So I lost my headphone, and then I was really afraid because I got bit, and I didn't know, was I going to have an allergic reaction? Or does this thing have like, I don't know if it was a spider or if it was a bee. I had no idea. So I started to panic a little bit. And finally, I came along some people who were sitting and having tea.
Okay.
And I told them that, oh, I think I just got bit by something. They said, oh yeah, we can see there's a mark and it's red there. And I said, okay, I think I'll just stay here for a little while with you guys.
Okay.
Just to make sure that I'm okay. And I was, but it was quite frightening.
Yes, because it's kind of important to be with someone or go hiking with someone, because just in case, if something happens, somebody can get help for you, right?
Exactly. So I was a little bit foolish to be hiking alone. Okay, let's get into day 2.
When we eventually took on the mountain for a second time, the weather was cloudy and gray. Nonetheless, we enjoyed walking in the woods again, breathing in the fresh air and looking at the natural world around us. We saw little lizards, a snake, and many different kinds of birds. Near Payun Lodge, we encountered a couple of yellow-throated martins playing. After a few hours of shut-eye, we arose at 3 in the morning, quickly ate some congee, and headed up the mountain in darkness. However, this time we headed toward the North Peak instead of the main peak. It was a difficult walk along a frosty path, but it didn't take us too long.
Okay, so welcome back. It's now day 2 of Views of Jade Mountain. And unfortunately, in day 1, when they got to the peak of Jade Mountain, to the summit, it was all misty. They couldn't see that much, so that was kind of sad.
That's right.
Okay, so let's see what happens now.
When we eventually took on the mountain for a second time, the weather was cloudy and gray. Oh wow!
More bad weather.
So the author decided to do it again, right? Because the author wants to make sure that, you know, like the amazing views, or it will not be missed, right?
Yeah, or it's just sometimes fun to hike the same mountain that you've hiked before. You know, I've hiked mountains, some mountains, you know, maybe a dozen times, just because it's just beautiful, just hiking, not even to the summit, just the
enjoy the things along the way.
Enjoy nature, right.
Okay. So we're looking at this word here, eventually, and that is an adverb. Eventually is an adverb that means in the end, especially after a long time or a lot of effort or problems. So for example, you can say, even though we got lost, we eventually found our hotel. Okay, so eventually, it took us a while, but we finally found our hotel.
Okay, so it was a little bit cloudy, the weather's not so great, but Nonetheless, we enjoyed walking in the woods again, breathing in the fresh air and looking at the natural world around us.
Okay, I know I'm not, really that into hiking, but I do like the fresh air when you go hiking and you can enjoy the natural world.
Yeah, nature is beautiful.
It is.
So
it is.
If you can do something that's not too difficult, then I think you would enjoy a little
I think I just
hike.
Don't like the walking part.
Maybe you can get yourself someone to push you in a wheelchair.
Okay, let's continue. We saw little lizards, a snake, and many different kinds of birds. Okay, so lizards I'm okay with, and many different kinds of birds I'm okay with. But a snake? What if it's poisonous?
I've seen lots of snakes while I was hiking, and they usually just run away.
Really?
Yeah.
So you have never been attacked by a snake?
No, I haven't. And I saw a really, really, really long snake, and it was in a pretty, we'll say, populated area. It wasn't even in really far in the mountains, and it was probably, I would say, 4 meters long.
Okay, that's pretty long.
And it was yellow. It was pretty scary, but he ran away.
Okay. Well, just make sure that you're not too close to it.
Right.
Okay, so near Paiyun Lodge, we encountered a couple of yellow-throated martins playing.
Well, that's cute. I don't know what a yellow-throated martin is, but that does sound like a bird.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。作者第一次登玉山宫顶时，到处都是雾，看不到风景。那他们决定以后还要再来。那当他们终于第2次挑战玉山时，天气也不是很好，多云，天空又很灰暗。尽管如此，他们还是很享受这个过程，呼吸到新鲜空气，欣赏到大自然。那在排云山庄附近，他们还遇见2-3只黄喉貂在玩耍。好，单字 eventually 这个副词表示最后，终于。那文中用到 yellow-throated martins playing， 这是表达说2-3只黄喉貂在玩耍。那这边我们介绍一下名词加上 VING 或 PP， 也就是分词片语修饰名词的用法。主格关系代名词 who、which 或是 that 引导的形容词子句，可以省略掉关系代名词，然后把动词改为分词来修饰先行词。形容词子句表示主动或进行的话，是改成现在分词 VING； 被动的话是用过去分词 PP。举例来说。Dana bought a portrait which was painted by a local artist. Dana 买了一幅由当地画家画的肖像。文中的这个 which was painted by a local artist， 这是形容词子句，那就可以把 which was painted 简化成 painted， 就变成 Dana bought a portrait painted by a local artist。那这时候就可以看到 a portrait 后面就接了过去分词 painted 来修饰它。解华课文中。
All right, continuing. After a few hours of shut-eye, we arose at 3 in the morning, quickly ate some congee, and headed up the mountain in darkness.
Ooh.
So they got up in the darkness again. So they just got a little bit of shut-eye. So shut-eye is sleep. And a lot of times it has an idea of maybe not a full amount of sleep, like 7 or 8 hours, but more than a nap. So it really just means some sleep. Okay. So for example, it's getting late. I think it's time for some shut-eye.
All right. And we're also looking at this word here, arise, and that is a verb. Arise is a verb that means to get up from sleep or after lying down. So for example, you can say Tom arose at 5 in the morning to walk his dog. Okay, I have a guess here. They keep on waking up before the sunrise to get to the peak. It's probably because they want to enjoy the view of the sunrise.
I think you are dead on.
Right? Why else would you wake up at 3 or 4 a.m.?
Yes, I definitely think you have something there, right?
Okay. So, however, this time we headed toward the North Peak instead of the main peak.
Okay. So they changed this time, try to go to a different peak. Maybe they'll have better luck. Okay. It was a difficult walk along a frosty path, but it didn't take us too long.
Okay.
Yeah.
作者他们睡了几个小时后，在凌晨3点起床，迅速吃点粥，然后摸黑上山。这次他们前往的是北峰，而不是主峰。那沿着这个结霜的步道行走很困难，但是没有耗费掉太多时间。文中他用到 shut eye 是表达睡眠，它是不可数名词，还用到 arise 这个动词表示起床。动词三态是 arise, arose, arisen。好，接话课文中。
Okay, so it looks like they're going a different way. It's a little bit difficult because it's frosty, but I'm curious to see what happens when they reach the North Peak.
Well, let's take a short break and we'll come back and see what happens.
Okay.
When we reached the top of the North Peak, we came across the Yushan weather station. There, a kind man gave us some hot coffee. Though it was nothing fancy, it was so warm and comforting, and to this day, it's the best cup of coffee I've ever had. Then we watched the sunrise, which revealed incredible views in every direction. All of the frosty plants sparkled in the sunlight, and the main peak of Jade Mountain looked absolutely magnificent. After 2 big hikes, we finally got the beautiful views we'd hoped for.
Welcome back. Okay, so we found out before the break that our author decided to go again with some friends to let's go right back up and try this mountain, Jade Mountain, again.
That's right.
And they went, and unfortunately, it was a little bit cloudy, and it was the weather wasn't really that nice, but they still did enjoy the hike. They saw some animals along the way.
Snakes.
Lizards, birds, things like that. And they went and took a few hours. They got a little bit of shut-eye. Didn't say where. Maybe it was still at the same lodge they stayed at last time, or maybe they brought some tents along with them. We're not really sure, but they woke up really early at 3 a.m. to continue hiking in the dark.
That's right.
So,
a little scary, huh?
That does sound a little scary to be hiking in the dark in the mountains like that. Okay.
And then this time, they went to the North Peak and not the main peak, right?
That's right. They switched peaks.
Okay. Well, when we reached the top of the North Peak, we came across the Yushan weather station. Okay. So there was a Yushan weather station. Maybe there they can get some rest or they can get something to drink or to eat. Okay, so there, a kind man gave us some hot coffee. Okay, that would be nice, right? If you're climbing to the peak, you're probably a little bit cold since it's so high up, right?
It's so high up, and we know that there's frost on the ground.
Exactly.
So it's either freezing or close to freezing. So you're probably pretty cold.
That's right.
Okay. Though it was nothing fancy, it was so warm and comforting. And to this day, it's the best cup of coffee I've ever had.
Aww.
Yeah, so, you know, even though it wasn't fancy, when we say something is fancy, we just mean that it's really splendid. It's awesome. It's better or more grand than the average thing. So you can imagine you're wearing clothes or something like that. You could say that you wore a fancy dress. Another example, for my birthday, my parents took me to a fancy restaurant. So that would probably mean the restaurant was better than average and it was probably a little bit expensive. Fancy things are often expensive or very high quality. So this cup of coffee probably wasn't very high quality coffee, but just being so cold and to get a warm cup of coffee must have gave them a lot of comfort, right?
That's right.
What does it mean? What does comfort mean as a verb?
Well, to comfort something or someone, it makes them feel better, more relieved or relaxed. And it's a relief their physical discomfort. So for example, you can say, Judy tried to comfort her friend after the terrible news.
Okay.
Try to make her feel better.
Try to make her feel better. Right.
作者他们抵达北峰峰顶时，看见了玉山气象站，那边有一位好心人分给他们一些热咖啡。那虽然这不是昂贵的东西，但是却温暖又暖心。好，单字 fancy 它是形容昂贵的、豪华的或高级的。Shane 老师解释单字时用到 splendid 这个形容词 ，S-P-L-E-N-D-I-D。Splendid 是形容壮丽的、极好的或出色的。还有用到 awesome 这个字。A-W-E-S-O-M-E， 那它是形容很棒的、令人惊叹的。下一个单字 comfort， 它当名词可以表达舒适、舒服或者是安慰、慰藉。那它当动词的话是表达安慰、抚慰的意思。我们文中用到 comforting， 是用现在分词来当形容词来表达令人感到安慰的或温暖的。补充一下，如果在 comfort 前面加上否定字首 dis，discomfort 这是表达不舒服、不适。好，接回到课文中。
Okay, well, let's continue. Then we watched the sunrise. I was right.
You were right. That's why they woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And then where they have to walk in the dark, but I guess it's all worth it.
Yes.
Right? Because they say they watched the sunrise, which revealed incredible views in every direction. Yay! So it's not very misty this time, right? There's not a lot of mist. Everything, I guess, is very clear.
Oh, that is awesome. So, to describe all of this, the author says, all of the frosty plants sparkled in the sunlight, and the main peak of Jade Mountain looked absolutely magnificent. So that's a good benefit of going to the North Peak because you can then see the view of of Jade Mountain, right? The main peak of Jade Mountain from the North Peak. Yeah.
Okay.
And to sparkle just means to throw off or reflect little flashes of light. You could also say glitter, to glitter. So, for example, he wore a hat that sparkled.
And another vocabulary word is magnificent, and that is an adjective. So magnificent means something that is very beautiful, impressive, okay? It deserves people's praise. Wow, this is awesome, fantastic.
Karen is magnificent.
Thank you. Shane is magnificent as well.
Thank you.
So for example, you can say, the magnificent castle stood on the hill and looked over the valley. So you just want to say how fantastic this castle looks. And let's continue. After 2 big hikes, we finally got the beautiful views we'd hoped for. Yay, I'm so happy for them.
Yeah, luckily on the second time, they were able to get those spectacular, amazing views.
Because it is such a long hike. I Googled it actually. It's about 10 to 12 hours.
That's a long time.
Exactly.
作者他们在玉山北峰峰顶看日出，那所有结霜的植物都在阳光下闪闪发光，而且玉山的主峰看起来也确实很壮丽。历经了2次艰辛的登山，作者他终于看到他希望看到的美景了。我们看单字 sparkle， 它是动词，表示闪闪发光、闪耀。Shane 老师解释单字时用到 glitter。G-L-I-T-T-E-R，glitter 表示闪烁或是闪耀的意思。下一个单字 magnificent 可以形容宏伟壮丽的或者是极好的、出色的。这时老师有用到 spectacular， 我们可以学一下 S-P-E-C-T-A-C-U-L-A-R。spectacular 是形容壮观的、壮丽的、令人惊叹的。那刚刚说玉山主峰看起来很壮丽，我们这边学一下 look 当连缀动词，表示看起来怎么样，之后可以接形容词或是接 like 加名词。举例来说 The building looks cool. It looks like a spaceship. 那栋建筑物看起来很酷，看起来像一艘太空船。好，接着回到课文中。
So we have a what do you think question. So let me ask you, would you like to climb Jade Mountain? Why or why not?
Okay, well, you know that I'm not that into hiking. However, though, it does sound very interesting because the paths were gentle and steady, so I don't have to worry about the difficult paths and hiking trails. That's one thing I like about it. But if I can drive up there a little bit,
there you go.
And then I'll walk, I would, yeah.
And get closer, I think I have about the same feeling. I would like to climb Jade Mountain, but maybe not the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just maybe first drive up there, see what all of the fuss is about, to just see how amazing it is, and if I do feel it's amazing, and then maybe the next time I would try to hike it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would like to see the sunrise too, although that means I'll be hiking in the dark for some time, but I guess in the end it will probably be worth it, right?
Nope, not for me. I'm not waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the sunrise, ever. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. We hope you enjoyed this lesson on Jade Mountain, and we will see you next time.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
When we eventually took on the mountain for a second time, the weather was cloudy and gray. Nonetheless, we enjoyed walking in the woods again, breathing in the fresh air and looking at the natural world around us. We saw little lizards, a snake, and many different kinds of birds. Near Payun Lodge, we encountered a couple of yellow-throated martins playing. After a few hours of shut-eye, we arose at 3 in the morning, quickly ate some congee, and headed up the mountain in darkness. However, this time we headed toward the North Peak instead of the main peak. It was a difficult walk along a frosty path, but it didn't take us too long. When we reached the top of the North Peak, we came across the Yushan weather station. There, a kind man gave us some hot coffee. Though it was nothing fancy, it was so warm and comforting, and to this day, it's the best cup of coffee I've ever had. Then we watched the sunrise, which revealed incredible views in every direction. All of the frosty plants sparkled in the sunlight, and the main peak of Jade Mountain looked absolutely magnificent. After 2 big hikes, we finally got the beautiful views we'd hoped for.
好，最后我们来复习今天课文里的单字文法。单字的部分有 eventually 是副词，表示最后、终于。Arise 这个动词表示起床 ，Fancy 是形容昂贵的、豪华的、高级的 ，Comfort 当动词表示安慰、抚慰 ，Magnificent 可以形容宏伟壮丽的、极好的、出色的。好，那文法的部分，第一个我们学到名词加上 VING 或 PP， 也就是分词片语修饰名词的用法。那这个分词是由形容词子句省略简化而来，主动或进行用 VING， 被动用 PP。第二个文法学到 look 当连缀动词表示看起来，它后面可以接形容词或是接 like 加名词。好，那以上这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Here you go. There's something missing from our plate. I forgot the eggs. How do you usually like your eggs? Oh, I don't know. There are so many ways to cook eggs. I like them all. Well, I usually go for a sunny side up. Okay. Okay, be right back. The first type of egg we have are boiled eggs. Right, our first one that we are going to talk about is our soft boiled egg. And our egg yolks can be anywhere from a runny or a jammy yolk, but today we went with a fluffier yolk, so it's very soft. Then we have the hard-boiled egg, where you'll cook the egg for longer, and sometimes you'll cook it well done so that the egg yolk becomes more firm, and some people, they like to eat it this way. Our next category is fried eggs. Our first one is a sunny side up. It's only cooked on one side, and as you can tell, it looks like the sun. The next one is an over easy. You cook it on both sides, but the egg yolk is still runny. Similar to that, we have our over medium with a very jammy center. And last but not least, we have our over hard with a very firm egg yolk. It's cooked the longest. Now we have our scrambled eggs, and that is when you take egg whites and egg yolks and mix it together before frying it.
And today we have soft scrambled eggs, which we can see the egg is still a little more wet. It's not cooked as long. Then we have our hard scrambled egg, which is cooked a lot longer, so the egg is more firm and also dry. Today we learned how to cook egg in so many different types of ways.
We have boiled eggs, scrambled eggs, and fried.
We also learned about the different parts of the egg. For example, the yellow runny thing in the middle of the egg is called an egg yolk.
Right, and the outer part, which is sometimes see-through, is called an egg white.
We also learned how to cook egg yolk in lots of different consistencies.
Right, we have runny, jammy, and well done.
But there's still one question. What kind of egg are we gonna eat for breakfast?